The Nigerian government has made several attempts to tackle corruption, but progress has been slow and uneven. The government has established several anti-corruption agencies, including the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) to investigate and prosecute corrupt officials. The government has also introduced several anti-corruption laws and policies, including the Whistleblower Protection Policy and the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. However, these efforts have been hampered by weak enforcement mechanisms, lack of political will, and politicization of anti-corruption efforts. Corruption remains a deep-seated problem in Nigeria, and it has far-reaching consequences for the country's development. The causes of corruption are complex and numerous, and addressing the problem would require a multifaceted approach. The Nigerian government must strengthen its institutions and governance structures, improve accountability and transparency, and ensure the anti-corruption efforts are not politicized. The international community must also play a role in supporting Nigeria's efforts to tackle corruption through financial and technical assistance and by promoting good governance practices. Only through sustained efforts can Nigeria overcome the problem of corruption and achieve its full potential, as the corruption in Nigeria has far-reaching consequences, not only for Nigeria itself, but also for the development of the African continent as a whole.
This country must begin to make sacrifice and cut down on cost of governance. To start, very careful as it may be. Now, our constitution provides that we have 3 senators. What is the 3 senators per state do that 1 senator per state cannot do? Hold it. Now, what are we doing in the National Assembly there that we are 300-something people? And each of these persons creates demand on the system. We must cut down on the cost of governance. What we need to have under the present ugly situation, which our constitution points out to us, is to have a senatorial representative, 1 per state, and senatorial 3 per federal constituency.
Nigeria is one of the largest economies in Africa and plays a significant role in the region's economic and political landscape. Its pervasive corruption affects the region's development by creating a climate of economic instability and undermining the continent's social and political system. The Nigerian economy has been hampered by the perception of corruption, which discourages foreign investments and damages Nigeria's reputation as a reliable business partner. The lack of foreign investment limits economic growth, which in turn limits employment opportunities and contributes to poverty and social inequality. Secondly, corruption in Nigeria also impacts regional security. The activities of terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and the Islamic State in West Africa, ISWA, are often funded by corrupt officials who provide them with resources, including weapons and financial support. These terrorist activities destabilize the region, leading to violence, displacement, and a refugee crisis that affects the entire continent.
When Nigeria's President Buhari took office last spring, he inherited a military that was underpaid, underfed, and unable to protect the Nigerian people from Boko Haram. And one reason is that much of the military budget was finding its way into the pockets of the generals. And just this week, we saw reports that more than 50 people in Nigeria, including former government officials, stole $9 billion from the Treasury. I used to be...
The corruption in Nigeria has a negative impact on the continent's efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Corruption diverts resources away from the essential public services such as healthcare and education and undermines efforts to reduce poverty and inequality. The negative impact of corruption on healthcare systems is particularly significant as it undermines the efforts to improve health outcomes in the region, including the fight against diseases such as HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. Corruption in Nigeria and its impact on the country's governance structures also undermines the continent's efforts to promote good governance and democracy. The lack of accountability and transparency in government institutions in Nigeria undermines the rule of law, creates a climate of impunity, and erodes public confidence in democratic institutions. These, in turn, undermines the continent's efforts to promote democracy and good governance, which are critical components of sustainable development. Corruption in Nigeria also affects regional trade and economic integration. The lack of transparency and accountability in Nigerian institutions creates a difficult environment for businesses seeking to engage in cross-border trade and investment. These, in turn, hampers regional integration efforts and limits the potential benefits of economic integration for the region as a whole. Corruption also has a significant impact on public service delivery, with public services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure being severely compromised. Corruption in the judiciary undermines the justice system and erodes public confidence in the legal system. Corruption in law enforcement agencies also compromises public safety and security as criminals are able to operate with impunity. In conclusion, the pervasive corruption in Nigeria has far-reaching consequences for African development. It undermines efforts to achieve the sustainable development goals, discourages foreign investment, and affects regional security. The negative impact of corruption on healthcare systems, democratic institutions, and trade, and economic integration hampers the continent's development efforts. Therefore, it is essential for Nigeria and the continent as a whole to tackle corruption in a sustained and concerted manner. This can be achieved by strengthening institutions, promoting transparency and accountability, and improving governance structures. Only through these efforts can the continent unlock its full potential and achieve sustainable development.